Joint opposition lodged a complaint at the Bribery Commission against Minister Malik Samaravikrama. Police probed the assault on a school student in Kandy. Not a single professional will be allowed to come and work in Sri Lanka through ETCA. Statement from the Leader of the House. Prices of rice increase.
Do you want to know what's happening in the world around you and here at home? Well, you're tuned in to the correct channel. A very good evening and welcome to News First, live on News First. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
A very good evening to all our viewers. I'm Joel Outschool. Let's start off with a look at our top story for this evening.
Visharada H.M. Sanat Nandasuri was appointed as the Chancellor of the University of Visual and Performing Arts.
He received his appointment letter from President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat today. Secretary to the President P.B. Abekona and the family members of Sanat Nandasuri participated in this event. Meanwhile, Supreme Court Justice Priyasad Depp was sworn in as the acting Chief Justice before President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
Reports have emerged that a document had been sent by a Deputy Governor of the Central Bank to the Chairman of COPE regarding the controversial bond transactions. News First inquired the matter from the Chairman of COPE, MP Sunil Handunethi.
Has the Central Bank sent such a document to you?
After the COPE report regarding the Central Bank bond transaction was presented in Parliament, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank presented a clarification signed by the Secretary of the Board on the 4th of November. I presented their clarification about the footnotes of the COPE report to all the members of COPE the day before yesterday.
Was there any discussion about this? What are the contents of this report?
I don't think it is suitable for me to reveal the contents of the media at the moment. A debate will be held regarding the matter in Parliament in the near future. We can discuss the facts then.
In a country where the Right to Information Act is prevalent, why can't you reveal the contents of the report?
That is not the issue. This has been presented to the Parliament and the future course of action with regard to this lies with the Parliament. The COPE has completed its task with regard to the bond transaction.
Chairman, we have received reports that the Monetary Board convened today. Are you aware of this?
No, I am not aware.
Are you able to clarify to the country as to what the future course of action will be with regard to this matter by COPE?
The task of COPE with regard to the Central Bank bond transaction is now over. The next step is vested with the Parliament, the President and the Government. They should decide what steps need to be taken next. Our responsibility is to follow up on the matter as the Oversight Committee of the Parliament. We have mentioned that on the report very clearly as well.
You said that the COPE convened the day before yesterday. Wasn't it to discuss this matter?
No. COPE convened to name 22 institutions that will be summoned from January. The committee needs to provide these institutions a reasonable time period. These institutions will be summoned during the first quarter of next year starting from January. That is what we discussed on the day before yesterday during the COPE sitting. In addition, we tabled the report of the Central Bank.
Will the Parliament receive the facts that are in this report sent by a Deputy Governor of the Central Bank?
පාර්ලිමේන්තුව දැනගන්න අවස්ථාවක් තිබෙනවද කොහොමද ඒ තොරතුරු ලබා ගැනීමේ අවස්ථාවක් තිබෙන්නේ ඔබගේ පැත්තේ
I have informed the Speaker of Parliament in writing and sent a copy of this report.
The joint opposition lodged a complaint against Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, for allegedly misusing over 1 billion of rupees of the Mahapala Trust Fund.
The joint opposition convened a media briefing before filing a complaint against Minister Malik Samaravikrama. During the media briefing, the joint opposition revealed that Samaravikrama occupies number 3 spot on the top 10 corrupt ministers list of the current government. We charge that the Minister of International Trade is directly involved in misusing over 1,000 million rupees from the Mahapala Trust Fund. It is clear that this is also taking place in a manner similar to that of the Central Bank bond scam, which was executed by the Prime Minister. The Central Bank, which was under the purview of the Finance Ministry, was taken over by the Prime Minister, and the Mahapala Trust Fund, which was under the purview of the Trade Ministry, was also taken over by the Minister of International Trade. Arjuna Mahendran was appointed as the governor. The Mahapala Trust Fund has incurred a loss exceeding 1,000 million due to the investments made on bonds.
රජයට මේ වන විට මිලියන 10ක පාඩුවක් මහපොළ සංවර්ධන අරමුදලට සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Both the parties have invested in treasury bonds and a private company has earned a profit of 1,000 million rupees.
තොරව තමයි මේ පෞද්ගලික සමාගමක් වෙත මේ මුදල් ලබා දීලා තියෙන්නේ ආයෝජනය කිරීම සඳහා.
The state institutions incur losses. The money was given to a private company for investment without cabinet approval. We remind you to stay awake. The central bank has called for tenders for the next bond issuance, which will take place during the 3rd and 4th weeks of December. It will also take place in a manner similar to an auction. Everybody is set to carry out this task. It all happens according to the whims and fancies of the former governor. Following the media briefing, a complaint against Minister Malik Samaravikrama was lodged with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. A fraud similar to the central bank bond scam is taking place in connection to the Mahapola Trust Fund. They are misusing this fraud, which was created by a great personality called Lalit Athulat Mudali, to educate thousands of students. They have carried out a similar transaction like the one at the central bank and are now misusing this fund. We are waiting to see how the independent commissions in the country will react to this. If there is independence, work on this. We have already submitted the relevant documents.
Minister Lakshman Kiryala says that the EDCA agreement with India will not pave the way for Indian professionals to enter the Sri Lankan job market. He made this in response to a statement made by parliamentarian Ramesh Patirana.
The IT professionals are worried about the EDCA, the Economic and Technical Cooperation Agreement that government is willing to go ahead with, and if this is signed, we lose all the opportunities. They are really worried about it. We lose the opportunities in the Sri Lankan market to Indians. So we must be very careful about that. We should support.
Honorable, we are not allowing a single professional to come and work in Sri Lanka under that agreement.
Almost all the professionals, Honorable Minister, including doctors, the accountants, the IT professionals, they are vehemently opposing this act. So you must be very serious.
එක්තා කිවිසුම යටතේ අපි වෘත්තිකයන්ට ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා වැඩ කරන්න කිසිම අවස්ථාවක් නැහැ.
හොඳයි ඔබතුමා එහෙම කරනවා නම් හොඳයි.
Statements were made in Parliament today regarding the confusion which has arisen when searching for individuals responsible for transactions which took place during the previous administration.
With the politicization which was prevalent during the previous regime, large sums of money at institutions were misused. Since your ministry has failed to intervene and take the necessary legal action in this regard, those suspected to be responsible for these crimes remain at large. Do you admit that? I think I may have to admit that whether I like it or not. The reason for that might be a shortcoming in the legal framework. If you take, for example, last month, Sri Lankan Airlines had to pay $98 million or 14.5 billion rupees for terminating the agreement pertaining to 3 flights.
Billion 14.5 ගෙවන්න සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවා.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි දැන්
Honorable Speaker, if we are stuck in a state of dilemma, not knowing what to do when millions of rupees are misused and unsure as to whom we have to file cases against, then for a country which uses the taxpayers' money to pay off its debt, we are facing a massive tragedy. So these laws which are being formulated, are they being formulated in a manner which will be applicable for past crimes as well? Take the required course of action. If Parliament decides that it should be done, we are ready to do so. I must also say that we are ready to do this for the matter of the bond issue as well.
Well, today is the 4th day of the debate on the expenditure heads of the 2017 budget. The expenditure heads of the Ministry of Higher Education and Highways, Ministry of Skills Development and Vocational Training, and the Ministry of Science and Technology and Research were debated today. Here are some of the views that were expressed during the debate.
We have taken a step to provide basic facilities to double the amount of students at universities. By 2018, the university students will not have to hold boards opposite the Port Railway Station because of the hostel issue. We would like to remind you happily that we have taken steps to completely resolve the hostel issue by 2018. You are saying that you are travelling to Kataragama, but you are travelling to the Andaman Islands. You say that the higher education students will win the 21st century. You say that you are going to do something else in 2050. You relate fairy tales to university students and slash 13.5 billion rupees from them. Minister, you have a UGC that cannot enroll students in accordance with the number of slots that are open. Every year, mistakes are committed and the deans are requested to make way for about 2,000 additional students. You are speaking of 50,000 students. Present the details of the qualified students and the students who have been enrolled during the past 2 years to Parliament. We spent 7,000 million rupees for students to obtain university education from abroad. Why are we sending students abroad? If we can open universities in the country, we can keep all these students here.
A proposal was forwarded in Parliament today to grant student loans to university students from areas that were affected by the war.
This is regarding the students who come to the affected areas to enter the universities. They are very much they are poor families. Then can you help them to give loan? And once they get the employment, then after they can start to settle that loans.
What you say is to give every student a loan.
Yes, yes.
And let
those
them repay.
who suffer, yeah.
And once they get employment, let them repay.
That's right.
Welcome back to the news. On to a story that made it the headlines this evening. The prices of rice in the market have increased. The Hector Kobakadu Agrarian Research and Training Institute reveals that the price of a kilogram of rice has increased by 5 rupees when compared to the previous month.
A kilogram of samba, which was sold for 88 rupees and 50 cents last month, is now being sold at over 95 rupees. Red kakulu rice, which was sold at 75 rupees, is now priced at 80 rupees. The price of rice in the market has increased. Prices of samba, nadu, white and red kakulu rice has also increased. The mill owners increase the prices every day. There is a shortage of paddy and the late rainfall too has attributed to this situation. The government is yet to release its stocks. Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, M.B. Dissanayake, announced that 150,000 metric tons of rice has been released to the markets in order to meet the demands and control the prices.
Well, an update on the video that has gone viral on social media. Police made 4 arrests in connection to the incident where a student of Dharmaraja College, Kandy, was assaulted opposite the school. A video of an assault on a student in Kandy by a group has gone viral on social media. The victim of the assault is a grade 13 student.
On Monday, a grade 12 student told me to cut my hair while in school. He used profanity. I was enraged and I slapped him. This matter was then resolved at the principal's office. But when school was over at 1:30, an unidentified group attacked me.
The principal of Dharmaraja College, Kandy, had this to say.
On the 21st morning, an issue was reported between a school prefect and a grade 13 student with regard to the latter's haircut. Once we got to know of the issue, we warned them and it was resolved.
The report prepared by police on the assault on the student was handed over to Minister Sagla Ratnayaka this evening.
Former Commandant of the Police Special Task Force KLM Sarat Chandra was remanded until the 6th of December over the alleged misuse of a vehicle attached to the police department. The former STF Commandant was placed under remand custody after being produced before Colombo Chief Magistrate Gihan Pilapitia today. The captain of the avant-garde vessel, who is in custody, was produced before the Galle Magistrates Court today. The case was taken up before Chief Magistrate Nilupuli Lanka. Attorneys representing the Ceylon Shipping Corporation Limited informed court that the avant-garde vessel, which remains docked at the Galle harbour, is not needed. Chief Magistrate Nilupuli Lankapura ordered that details in this regard be reported to court via affidavits. The captain, who is of foreign nationality, was further remanded until the 7th of December. The case pertaining to the murder of former parliamentarian Nadaraja Raviraj was taken up for consideration today as well. Evidence was recorded from the first suspect to the case, Prithviraj Manamperi, before a special jury. The case is to be heard once again tomorrow. The other 3 defendants of the case, who are believed to be members of the LTTE Karuna faction, are suspected to be overseas evading court. Chairman of the National Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, appeared before the Colombo High Court today. Deshapri appeared in court to provide a statement over a case filed by the Attorney General against the former Presidential Secretary Lalit Weeratunga and former Director General of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita. The case is being heard over the alleged misuse of 600 million rupees of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission under the guise of state funds for the distribution of silk cloths.
Up next are some views expressed at the Cabinet media briefing today.
Well, Dinesh Gunawardena was always under the impression that this government would fall apart at any moment. But now he knows that it won't. Even the budget proposal was passed by 162 votes. That is a two-thirds majority. So after it was passed, he realized that him saying that the government will collapse won't work. So now various thoughts are running through his mind, or I wonder even if he saw it in his dreams. I guess he might have seen it like a movie in his head and thought to himself when he woke up in the morning that someone actually did say this. He has even told Bandula Gunawardena that something of this sort is happening. Well, there is nothing of that sort happening within the army. I even met the army commander. Everyone said that nothing of that nature will happen in the country. The matter of extremism was broadly discussed in the parliament. Under the patronage of the President and Prime Minister, a council will be established together with a few presidential secretaries who worked for the activities of good governance for the purpose of recommending what measures and what legal reforms must be made to tackle extremist statements and campaigns against other religions. Journalists also raised questions on a recent statement made by Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa, alleging that there are groups in Sri Lanka connected to the Islamic State group or ISIS. I asked the State Ministry of Defence and the President, who is the Defence Minister of this country, regarding the statement that was made on IS. There is no such report in the defence sector.
The final rites of the late actor Vimal Da Costa was held at the Borella Public Cemetery this evening.
The remains were placed at the Sudarshi Hall for the public to pay their last respects. The final rites of the late actor Vimal Da Costa was held with the participation of a large gathering, including artists as well as fans.
Meanwhile, students following the Higher National Diploma in Engineering of the Ministry of Higher Education in Mattakulia staged a protest this morning.
The protest was staged to voice the objection over a decision to increase the fees of hostels. The protest was staged opposite the institute for over an hour. Protesters then stormed the main hall of the institute and continued their protest. Area residents staged a demonstration blocking the Galpottavala junction in the Ambalangoda Batapola main road this morning. The demonstration was staged requesting the authorities to renovate the Galpottavala school lane which connects the Ambalangoda Batapola and the Ambalangoda Baddegama main roads. The protesters dispersed after the Ambalangoda Divisional Secretary arrived at the location and promised to renovate the road.
Well, on that note, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News. Well, if you missed out on any of the stories, you could do so by catching up on our stories by logging on to www.newsfirst.lk. Well, I'm Joel Outsgood.
And I'm Mahina Bongso. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Good night.